Okay. Good morning, wind chasers. Welcome to another episode of Chasing the Wind. I'm Pastor Mark. Let's see how the wind is blowing this week. So I have been started reading through the Old Testament again, from the beginning all the way through. 1 Samuel 25, a story that just, it's one of those stories that it's like tucked in there. I don't know of anybody who's ever preached on it. I don't know anybody who's ever talked about it. It's just one of those kind of obscure, forget about it kind of stories, and yet it is there for us for some reason. So let me give you a little rundown on the story. The NIV, anyway, the old one from, like, this is my old student Bible that I was given when I first became a Christ follower 33 years ago, something like that. 1 Samuel chapter 25, David, Nabal, and Abigail. It's like the only thing that came out of this story is people naming their daughters Abigail, okay? But it's a good name because Abigail's kind of she gets it done. Let me give you the rundown on this story. This is the Mark Hansen Cliff's Notes. David is still trying to run from Saul, King Saul, who's trying to kill him because he's jealous of him and all this stuff. And David has a destiny, though. He is going to be the king of Judah and Israel. The king of Judah, for sure. I don't do well with my Old Testament history, but you get the idea. He was going to be a big shot, okay? He was going to beat a man. Anyway, he ends up, him and his little army end up kind of protecting this guy named Nabal's sheep and their shepherds and this sort of thing. They protect them, make sure no one bothers them, anything like that. And doesn't charge or anything, but then David's kind of in need, and so he sends his men to Nabal's men, his servant, says, "Hey guys, could you help us out here? We were good to you. Do you have anything you can spare that you can help us out?" And they go to their master Nabal, and Nabal says, by the way, his name means foolishness. I'm going to just hang on that one for a minute. And Nabal cops this attitude. Who's David? Who's he think he is? I don't even know who he is. I don't care. Yada, yada, yada. You go tell him to go pound sand. This is the Hansen very loose translation, okay? The Hansen Cliff Notes. So his guys go and tell David's guys, no, we're not, Nabal doesn't want to do anything. Remember, his name means foolishness. Don't take this out on us. Take it on him. I think that's a little, I think that I'm adding that a little bit just for fun. I know, they might have said it. We don't know. David's men go back. Tell David. David is infuriated. And in one sense, probably rightfully so. And so he goes, and he's going to go, and we're going to take care of this. Okay, he's going to make sure. Okay, fine. This how you want to play? I'll play. Well, word gets back. Nabal's employees go and tell Nabal's wife. Abigail is her name. They said, "Look, man, we're going to get slaughtered here because David is really ticked off about what happened, and how Nabal's treating him and everything. You married an idiot," is what they're basically saying. His name means foolishness, but you can call it what you want. Egypt, doofus, whatever you want to call it. They get it. This guy is not. He's gonna cost them all if they're not careful. And so she goes into action. She says, "All right, I'm taking care of this. I'm not waiting. I'm going to do what I need to do." She sends a gift out ahead to David, and then gets in word. Has a cover. It gets word to David, says, "Look, he's an idiot. Don't do this. Here's this. We'll give you whatever you need." Yada yada yada. David changes his mind, realizes this isn't the right thing to do. Nabal finds out about it, and here's what's interesting. Drops over dead, pretty much, from a stroke or a heart attack. He's like a stone, it says. And so we have this story of, and I've been pondering this story. I'm like, this obscure little story, and it's a whole chapter. And here's what's funny is David, after Nabal dies, David takes Abigail as one of his wives. And, she was probably a pretty good one. I mean, if she was willing to, do that, she probably had some wisdom to her and stuff. So name your daughters Abigail, I guess, okay? Not because it sounds cute, but because Abigail, she was the bomb. She had it. What do we do with a story like this? It's I was pondering this a little bit last night before I went to bed and then this morning. I've had people do things for me that didn't have to do things for me. I was thinking about the time that when I lived in Kansas, and my basement of the house that my wife and I bought was not finished. And one day my neighbor, who was about 20 years younger than me, I was out walking the front in my driveway in my front walk, and he goes, "What are you doing, Mark?" I said, I'm remodeling or finishing my basement." He goes, "You are? What, let me see it." I said, No, it isn't. I haven't finished. I said, "It's all up here. I'm thinking about it." And for me, that's as good as doing it. And he goes, "Well, tell me what you're thinking." So I'm telling him everything. Well, it turns out he actually delivered building materials to building sites. And he would watch and see what people are doing. So I was telling him, he goes, "Oh, that doesn't sound too hard, yada, yada, yada." Seems to be the word of the day for me today, but that's all right. Long story short, neighbor guy comes over a couple days later. He goes, "Well, you ready?" And I said, "Ready for what?" He goes, "Ready to start your basement." He goes, "I picked up some stuff from the sites that they've thrown away that we can use and recycle in your basement." Oh, it's one thing to think about it. It's another thing to do it. But Trevor and pretty much ended up remodeling my basement, or finishing my basement, which wasn't a huge basement. It wasn't a big task. And he had a lot more energy than I did. And I was doing some stuff. And anyway, he gets it done. And he gets it all done, everything. It's beautiful. And so then we're talking. He goes, "Well, we never talked about what it was, about paying me." I thought, well, that would have been probably a good idea to do that beforehand. So Trevor and I sat on my swing talking about it, and he gave me a figure, and I said, that's a good figure. I could have said, "No way, man. I didn't. You were the one who came over and did this. I didn't ask you to do it. Yada yada." There it is again. I could have done that, and that would have been really foolish, because I'm one of those guys. I need people to help me with stuff, because there's just some stuff I do not understand. I get my buddy Bob Benson, from Discipleship Today fame, and he helps me with electric. He helps me with plumbing, and I got to get people to help me with stuff, because that stuff just doesn't work for me. I'm starting to figure it out, but I just don't like doing it. I was thinking about this as I was pondering this. There's that scripture that Jesus was teaching his disciples, and he said, make friends with people who have, financial resources, because you might need some help one of these days. It's one of the things we just don't seem to be focusing much on today, is it? We don't think about helping someone else, how this might work for the greater good. Of course, the only thing that we have to do is, you got to be woke, and you got to have your jab, because it's for everybody else, and it's not. It's more for our own peace of mind. But we're thinking of ourselves more and more these days. We're not thinking about what's really helpful to other people. And the things that we are told that are being helpful to other people, we're not sure they are. But what are the things that are really helpful? Are we willing to help our neighbor? We used to do that in this country. And that is the good stuff, by the way. That is I got a neighbor now who, it was kind of funny. I asked him if he'd come over with his tractor and move some chips for me, wood chips for me. He goes, "Well, you do it." I said, "I don't know how to drive your tractor." I said, "I don't want to ruin your tractor." He goes, "You aren't going to ruin my tractor." He goes, "You got to learn sometime." He's right, 55 years old, about time for me to start learning how to drive a tractor other than a mower. I had a ball, and it was just fun. And I said, "Dave, there's something I can help you with, let me know." That's what we do. We become so selfish and self-centered that all we think about is what's good for us. There's people out there, there's good people out there, and we're supposed to be those people that'll say, "Wait, I need to," they say, "Well, you got to stand up for the marginalized." I agree with that. We need to do that. It's so hard to kind of process all this, and I'm working on it, trying to figure out, what do we do with this? So wind chasers, I'm going to let you ponder that. I'm going to keep pondering it myself a little bit. But what's this story telling you? Go read it. 1 Samuel 25. I'm not going to guarantee you're going to end up with a wife out of it. I'm not saying that. But, you might end up with some things that God just blesses you, and because you did the right thing. So wind chasers, I'm going to leave it right there. Grace and peace to you. Keep chasing the wind because the wind is chasing you. The Holy Spirit is moving and working, and who knows what he might say to you through that. Matter of fact, when you get this on Facebook, why don't you make some comments? Share the video. Keep these things going from Drash Ministries because there's some good stuff that needs to be shared. So, till next time, I'm Pastor Mark. Grace and peace.